and welcome to a Fireside Chat, a live session with our beloved volunteer doctor. Project Step On is a 100% volunteer run free telemedicine service. Currently, a large percentage of India's home isolation patients for COVID 19 are receiving relief through our home isolation monitoring services in Delhi, Punjab, Bihar, Uttarakhand, Puducherry, Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, Satara, Sangli, Bangalore, and Kutlur. And all of this is possible because of our kind hearted doctors and citizen volunteers. Hello, everyone. My name is Bharadwaj, and I am a citizen volunteer at Project Step One. Today, we have with us Dr. Pulak Parag, Dr. Amita Bal, and Dr. Uma Rao with us. Let's hear a bit about them. Dr. Uma Rao, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everybody. Happy Diwali and happy Children's Day for all the children tomorrow. I'm Dr. Uma Rao. Yeah, I'm practicing pediatrician from Bangalore. I've been practicing in private for the past 30 years, and I have a special interest in adolescent care, that is for children from 10 to 18 years and their problems. So my hobbies are traveling and then gardening and cooking. I'm obsessed about traveling. I used to travel a lot before the pandemic, and I'm just waiting for the pandemic to lift. So thank you very much. I've been step one for the past 6 months. I've been there from the Delhi group before the Karnataka group started. Then after the Delhi group, I joined the plasma donors group, and then now I'm in the Karnataka group and also helping with the National Helpline group. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Uma. We all miss traveling a lot. Yeah, rightly mentioned. Dr.
Especially
Amita, yes.
Yeah.
Can you
Good evening,
introduce?
friends. Good evening, friends. As mentioned, I'm Dr. Amita Behel, 35 years with the Ministry of Health, retired 6 years ago, moved on from the sickness industry to the wellness industry with emphasis on nutrition, supplementation, and immunity boosting, and why we fall sick, and via media and methodologies and strategies to be adopted to not fall sick has been my mainstay for the last 6 years. Thereafter, step one emerged for us, and the pandemic has been making waves. Step one has been created, a nascent organization which is making waves. I joined hands. I'm a volunteer doctor with them. 6 months has given me so much of experience, so much of learning. Every day I get a new learning. Every day I enjoy myself because I know that at the end of the day I can sleep by saying that I have touched some lives, tried to help people. Our mainstay has been home isolation, home quarantine, and we have been talking a lot about all these things, not to be undermined. My personal hobbies, as Dr. Uma mentioned, has been cooking, trying out new dishes, and these days I enjoy myself doing zero oil cooking. Painting has been my mainstay a number of years ago, and yes, off late it's just been step one morning, step one noon, step one night. That's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amita. I mean, we all know each other. We've been working together for the past 6, 7 months, and getting to know each other, seeing each other's face now is, and getting to know those experiences is really amazing. Thank you so much for coming here. Yes, Dr. Parag, can I know you? Can you introduce yourself, please?
I am a pediatric surgeon. First of all, good evening, everyone. I'm a
Good evening.
pediatric surgeon. Um, I live in Raipur, Chhattisgarh, where I practiced for the past 20 years now. And I was working with the Chhattisgarh government before Step One collaborated, and then I joined Step One as a volunteer. Uh, So I think since May or June, I'm with Step One. Um, as about myself, my hobbies are cycling and bird photography, uh, which uh, which keep me busy in my free time when I'm not volunteering these days. So that time I utilize these things. Thank you.
Wow, it's a very different hobby that you've got, bird photography. So it's very interesting to know that. Dr. Amita, can you little bit tell about your life outside step one? Because you told us that it's morning step one, noon step one, and evening step one now. But how is your life outside step one? Something about you. Doctor, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself? Yes, thank
Myself.
you. Yes, now you're okay. Yeah.
Okay. I'm an army officer's daughter, army officer's wife. Unfortunately, my children did not join the army, so otherwise it would have been a hat trick. I've done lots of social service as an army daughter and as an army wife. In the army, we are required to do a lot of work voluntarily as part of social activities, and it's like kind of ingrained in my system. So coming and doing work and volunteering with step one has not been very much different for me. Number one. Number two, I have always been talking a lot about nutrition, about the aspects of nutrition. Even as a army officer's wife, I've been conducting lots and lots of sessions on nutrition on Jawans and Jawans' wives, and right up from Srinagar up there to Kanyakumari down south, wherever my husband has been posted, all along, it's just been trying to touch the lives of the Jawans and their families. That has been a big social circle for me. And otherwise, in the last 6 years, I have moved on into the realm of nutrition. Why fall sick? Why do people fall sick? It has been a burning desire in me right from as a small child. I used to ask my grandmother, why do people fall sick? Why diabetes? Why hypertension? And now I think I know the answer, because basically it is because of the lifestyle we are all, enmeshed into, that we can't get out of, and so many other prepossessing factors. So that has been my life for the last 6 years, trying to uh, create awareness, because I care for the lives of people and I want people to understand that you come to a doctor only when you fall sick. You don't go to a doctor asking him, I'm 35 today, what will I be suffering from when I'm 45? So we tell people at 35, if you're fine and fit, remember, of 10 years down the line, you will have some issues. So try and understand those issues right now, take the proper proactive steps, and stay safe and stay on guard. That has been my mainstay for the last 6 years. Otherwise, my social life has been very active, very hectic. I go wherever they want me to volunteer. Lots of NGOs and lots of army setups. I've been talking. I've been talking on various other issues besides just health also. Being a Fauji wife, I've been asked to give lots and lots of talks on adolescence, on need of the hour, on compatibility between man and wife, on marital issues. I was the coordinator for the marital discord committee in the army also. I gave a genesis to an organization called Astha. If you log on to Army Wives Welfare Association and log on to Astha, you'll see I have been the pioneer over there. Many more things. I think I can keep running a mile. Please carry on. Thank you.
You have a very, very interesting life outside Stefan as well, Doctor. So amazing to know you. Right, today we're going to discuss about child care in home isolation. In our previous episode, we had discussed a bit about infant care in home isolation. So today we will start with care for children from 1 to 10 years. So, Dr. Pulak, let me start the discussion with you. So, what are the chances of a young kid, right from the age of 1 to an age of 10 years, child getting COVID 19? What are the chances?
So, COVID is still a young disease. So many information we are getting every day. A lot of data collection is still in progress. Uh, in general, worldwide as well as in India, the incidence of COVID in children has been found to be low. Having said that, especially in India, because COVID had started late, we were in a position to shut down the schools as soon as the first lockdown was announced. COVID has a tendency to spread. It has been seen to spread much more readily between people of same age group, uh, even in adults. So with the schools closed and the online schooling going on, the exposure of these children has been very less. But Otherwise, there doesn't seem to be any real reason or any good reason why a child will not get infected by COVID. So, but in the present scenario, what will who will bring the infection to the child who is confined to the home? It will be one of the parents, or both of them. So it's basically when the child gets infected, one during the contact tracing will find that one or both of the parents are infected. In fact, most of the times what happens is that parents will get infected first, and while testing, the child will be found to be positive.
Right. So you mean early precautions and lockdown of schools has helped in preventing the spread.
So
So
far, yes.
having said that, yeah. So doctor, in case a child gets positive, are the symptoms the same as what adults have?
Yeah, the symptoms as such are similar to those in adults. So, just like in adults, the symptoms are of fever and cough. The commonest symptoms are said to be fever and cough. Uh, Apart from that, there can be lethargy, there can be refusal to eat. And what happens is that uh, Mm, the the usual flu symptoms, the regular flu symptoms that we see, or viral infections that we see, they the COVID presents very similar to them only. Just like not the usual flu that we have been seeing till now. Apart from this, there is loose motion. Again, that also one sees in adults, and loss of smell and taste. Uh, what is important is that lot of these children may remain asymptomatic also. This is important because the asymptomatic children, they will become the vector to bring to take the infection to their, say, their grandparents who are at a higher risk. Uh, so most of the children, say about nearly 98% children, they'll recover with these mild symptoms or no symptom at all. But one has to keep a watch on certain uh, danger signs, certain red flag signs, and they can be, say, uh, for example, a high respiratory rate. The child starts to breathe very rapidly, or there is nasal flaring. Nostrils, they'll flare with every breath, or they can be bluing of the tongue or the extremities. Loose motion, unlike in adults, the children are much more prone to dehydration. So there is some sinking of eyeballs, or if the urine output is less than what it was. These are some of the danger signs. Apart from that, if the child is known COVID positive, uh, uh, today most of the people, they are doing the pulse oximeter. They are checking the oxygen levels using a pulse oximeter. So if the saturation is dropping below 92, just the same value that we use in adults, that also is a danger sign. Apart from this, children who have uh, comorbidities, say birth defect causing a cardiac defect from birth, or they were asthmatics even before they got COVID, uh, or they are having certain kidney problems, they are chronic kidney patients, or they have received chemotherapy for some certain types of cancers. So these patients are more prone to develop severe infections. So these are this is the group that one needs to be extra careful about and seek medical help earlier, more promptly compared to the other children, most of whom will recover very nicely and completely.
So staying updated and alert is extremely important when we are talking about all these symptoms, especially in children. So thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Palak. So, Dr. Uma, we generally hear that older patients getting serious and being hospitalized, and most children getting cured at home with mild symptoms, or as Doctor mentioned, asymptomatic as well. But toddlers and young children who cannot express themselves do get really fussy when they are ill. So, what can parents do to uh, to give them relief in such cases? Doctor, you're on mute. Thank you.
Yeah. So Dr. Parag has mentioned all the symptoms. So one thing we have to understand, pediatric has got different age groups, 0 to 2, then 2 to 6, and 6 to 10, and 10 to 18. So different age group children will have different problems physically and also psychologically and behavior and also the mental issues. So we have to first realize that then most of the children are protected because of the vaccine which they have taken during the childhood, like the BCG and the MMR. This protects them and gives them an immunity boost. So that's why we find very mild symptoms of children. So the main problem with COVID positive is the panic which is associated with the disease. We are 6 months into the pandemic, and most of the children have heard a lot about the disease from their parents, from the media. So they may not express it. Children are not very good at communication when they are below 6 or below 8. It's only the older children who are able to tell. So most of them have issues regarding their mental problems. So even though the symptoms are very mild, we have to handle the different symptoms in two, three broad categories. One is the physical symptoms, which is easy because, I mean, relatively for a doctor, because the fever you can treat with medicines, the cold and the cough, and the occasional problem with the diarrhea, which can be easily treated with medicines. So that is okay. And then you have to have a positive attitude in the house. All the members of the family should, as soon as the report comes, should not panic. Many times we have seen in step one while triaging, even the adults get panicky. 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, they get really panicky. So that panic should not enter the house when there are children, because adults will manage and they get out of it. And then you have to handle the adult's problem and the child's stubbornness and crankiness. Then it becomes a very impossible situation. So please, whenever there is a COVID positive case reported or your test is positive, please have a calm and a balanced mind, especially when you're having children at home, because they can easily understand what you're doing and what you're saying. So we have to keep a happy environment. And of course, like Dr. Parag said, pulse oximeter and a thermometer is important, and look out for the red flag signs. If there is any red flag signs, call the emergency helpline number. And teleconsultation is very important, because the children, more than the children, the parents are anxious about the children. Even though we tell them it's mild, it will not trouble, they get worried. So first of all, you have to explain to the child that this is just a normal flu. You should not panic. You have been vaccinated with all the vaccines, so definitely you will not get into any trouble like your grandparents or your uncles and aunts or whoever they would have heard of about their problems. So we have to reassure the child, allow the child to have empathy. We have to give empathy, and then give a lot of love and support and reassurance. And then we have to give the child a lot of fluids also. So the emotional problem is a real challenge for the uh, parents to deal with, and they themselves will be sick. So they may have a lot of tiredness, they themselves will be having fever, but in spite of it, they have to support the child. And you have to protect yourself. Masking is important, because once the child is also positive, and even if the parent, one parent has to be with the kid, whether they are positive or negative, especially the toddlers, 2 to 6 years, cannot be isolated separately in the room. So we have to have an adult, one of the parent, whether they're positive or negative. So you have to maintain the social distancing and the hand hygiene and the masking, and all the other COVID norms has to be followed. Thank you.
Right, doctor. So very well answered. I guess do not panic is should be one of the
Yes,
major
especially for kids.
things that
Yes.
keep in mind,
Yes, as
right?
soon as
Yeah,
you
and
get the positive report, some people start crying, some people start getting angry and then challenging the report. saying it's a wrong report and this and that, argumentative. So all this has to be controlled. Please control your emotions if there are kids at home. That is the message. Otherwise, you'll
Correct.
have a double problem or maybe a
Explaining to
triple
the
problem.
child that this is yet another thing that is, it is like a flu. Explaining that to the kid is really important, and not
Yes,
getting panic should
yes,
be taught to every person. And I think we have witnessed this many
yes,
a times when we are
yes,
receiving calls from the patients and stuff. So thank you so much for pointing out that very important point.
yes.
Dr. Amita, my next question is for you. So, what kind of advice would you give to the parents who may not be COVID positive themselves but acting as a primary caregiver for the COVID positive child? How can they protect themselves while providing adequate relief to the child? You're on mute, doctor. Can you unmute yourself? Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Okay. I'm
Yes,
not on
yes,
mute.
doctor. You're okay now.
Okay. So, see, if the parents are also positive and the kids are also positive, there's just no problem at all. They can intermingle with themselves freely. But if the parents are negative, that means they are all right. There comes the quagmire of thinking in the mind what to do and how to manage it. I personally feel a child who is 5 plus, 6 plus can probably understand and comprehend if he is asked to stay away. He might, but the child who is less than 5 is normally frisking around and gaining reassurance from the parents. One way or the other, every second moment, they are back in the mother's lap or clinging onto them for reassurance, and especially if they are unwell, all the more so. So, in that case, I would recommend one of the two parents, if both are negative, has to bear the brunt, has to become, you know, accept becoming the scapegoat, and has to harness himself along with the COVID positive child in one room in isolation for 17 days. To the extent if he gets positive, he has to accept that. Because if he also does not do that, then the child will not stay away, not stay alone. So one of them has to take this particular humble pie or bear the brunt. And maybe if the mother has to look after the family, there are other members in the house, as well as seeing to the incessant demands of the child's cravings and hunger and all those things and the diet and etc. Let the mother be outside, let the father be inside the room, and let them play together, let them talk together, let them walk together, let them do television together, and somehow find a bonding between the father and the child. That's how I feel is the only way. One of them has to just bear the brunt. That's it.
Right, very, very well pointed out, Dr. Amita. And accepting the scenario and accepting what is the present situation, coping up with the situation is really important during these times. So, thank you so much for highlighting that. Dr. Uma, my questions again to you. How do you propose children who are positive be engaged in isolated condition by parents? Like 6 to 10-year-olds have very active social life in terms of engaging with other children and adults beyond family, school and after school as well. In absence of that kind of engagement, restlessness and anxiety must be present in all these kids too. So, what should the parent do?
See,
Yeah,
first,
like I said
sorry.
earlier, the question is to me, Shruti.
Yes, 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 doctor, it's for
Yeah.
you.
Like I said earlier, it's easy to handle the physical symptoms of fever, cold, cough, and loose motions. But then when it comes to home isolation, that is the main problem with COVID. No other disease you have to isolate like you have to isolate for corona. I think this is the only disease where people are cooped up in one room for 17 days. And just imagine the children, poor things. Okay, they are no school, they have no friends. And then, especially, yeah, the 2 to 6 year olds, they have less understanding. They are not at all, they're very energetic. How do you make them sit in a room for 17 days? Doctor, most of the houses will be small and they may not even have a proper attached bathroom or whatever. And then it becomes very, very tiring for the parents to engage these children. But generally, the children are very adaptive and very resilient. So we have to keep them in a positive mood so that they don't throw tantrums and make the difficulty even more difficult. And it's a very challenging task. So we have to, first of all, educate the parents. As I said, they have to keep very calm and they have to engage the child as soon as the child gets up in the morning. you have to follow a daily routine. One thing we have noticed, since the symptoms are mild, the children are very energetic. Even in spite of being COVID positive, they are not really tired and sleeping and things like that unless they have other health issues like Dr. Parag mentioned. So generally they'll be jumping around, and they you won't even, many times the parents say that there's no other problem except the report which is positive. The child is fine, eating well, sleeping well, playing well. So in this situation, to keep him inside the room for 17 days, just imagine how it will be. So we have to make them follow a daily routine with a little bit of discipline. When they get up in the morning, you, like, as they go to school, let them take their bath, let them say a small prayer, let them sit for an online class if it's going on. Otherwise, let them do a little bit of homework, and then let them play with board games. You engage them with indoor games like board games, and then you can make them read comic books. And then we have to keep on telling them that this disease will not affect you. And there is one comic which is Vayu, Corona, and the children. So, like, and the kids, I think, yeah. So that explains in a detailed way with pictures. So then you can download that from the YouTube and show them this, and then tell them that this corona will not have any problem for you. That some of the children will even think they'll die, because some situations you will have elderly grandparents getting admitted to ICU and the parents discussing about that in front of the kids. So we have to keep on reassuring that this disease, you're protected. This will not trouble you at all. And then put them through music and let them little bit of dancing, keep the environment happy. I know it is going to be very, very difficult. We'll have to role play. The parents have to do a little bit of role playing, sort of, even though they are sick and having fever and tired, they have to be a little bit, keep a happy outlook and keep the child occupied. Screen time should be restricted most of the time. Of course, even a TV in some of the rooms may not be possible because of the isolation. But if you have the luxury, restrict it, and the tabs and the mobiles to at least 2 hours and not more than that. And then introduce them to yoga and introduce them to a little bit of meditation. 6 to 10 years old, you can easily make them do many things. The 2 to 6 years old is a challenge, definitely. So you can ask them to, even life skills they can be taught during this time, little 6 to 10 years old. You can teach them about the coping skills and how to manage when there is a crisis and things like that, and personal hygiene as usual. So please, all of you, stay home and stay safe. Thank you.
Very well, Doctor. Following a routine and creating a happy environment is really important, because people tend to, form a negativity behind, amongst themselves when they are, when they have someone who is sick at home. So thank you so much. That is a very important thing that you have noted. Dr. Parag, my question is to you. I mean, this is question from one of our viewers. So, which is, who are more prone to risk, with people with comorbidities. So they're just asking you if the kids are at higher risk or the elders. So
Sorry,
they're
I didn't
asking
get your
who are
question.
more prone to risk, the kids or the elders. They're asking about the people who have, high comorbidities, that, high symptoms, or, who are not asymptomatic. So who are at more risk, the elders or the kids?
So, from what I understand, you're basically comparing uh, children who have comorbidities and adults who have
That's
comorbidities who
that's
are at a greater risk. Is
Yes, yes,
the
that's right,
question?
doctor.
Have I understood it correctly? Yeah. So it is like this, that uh, as I said, that it's a young virus. It's not even completed, gone through its own infancy. It has not completed 1 year. And medical studies, epidemiological studies, they take some time for time to come up with data, specific data like this. In general, uh, uh, both the groups should be, there should be a high index of suspicion, higher alert should be kept for both the groups. This comparison is probably not that important. As important is the fact that both of them are prone to catching this infection more than the healthy population, otherwise healthy population. Not only that, these are the groups that can progress into more severe disease form. So that is the more important thing to know.
Well, thank you, doctor, for answering that
Yes.
question. I hope people who ask that question is clear about that. And okay, we have Dr. Amita back on the panel. So, Dr. Amita, with the change of activity level and staying indoors all days, nutrition must be playing a big role in children's well-being. So, could you please help our audience in terms of nutrition advice for children of the age group between 2 to 10 years? Again, you're on mute.
Is it okay?
Yes, now it's okay.
We have to nurture their palate, to humor them. Well, if they are well satiated with the kind of food they want and they desire, it's only then they'll be mentally more comfortable and at ease, and the parents will also get more comfort at that. So, depending upon the socio-economic group and depending upon the desire and desirability of the children, there are a number of modifications one can do. There's one simple thing which I've always been telling when I was a medical student, which we learned during the those community classes, is called the poor man's protein laddu. Poor man's protein laddu, which I have been telling all along to all my patients, is एक कटोरी भुना चना, एक कटोरी भुना मूंगफली, एक कटोरी गुड़ और जैगरी, and एक कटोरी आटा. One katori each of भुना चना, भुना मूंगफली, गुड़ and आटा. तो आटे को भूनना है अच्छी तरह से, और मूंगफली और चने को मोटा मोटा क्रश करना है, सबको मिक्स कर देना. अगर देसी घी की अफोर्डेबिलिटी हो तो उसमें उसको मिला के, उसको या तो उसको पंजीरी टाइप बना के एक ब्रॉड मोटे बड़े ढक्कन वाले बॉटल में, जार में भर के रख देना, या फिर लड्डू बना देने. One laddu in the morning, one laddu in the evening with a cup of milk is very good, not only for kids, so also for the adults of all socio-economic age groups. People who cannot afford the high super class, high protein powders and supplements, this is an ideal thing, and children just love it. That's one thing I always tell people. Second, if they are vegetarians, anda is something which everybody loves. So anda in various forms. Make a French toast, mix anda with milk and sugar, and soak the bread, and on the tawa you can do that little ladling. It's ready with minimum oil. Then there is besan toast with anda with besan, with little water mixed together, and again with the bread soaked like this. You make that. I've written down a few things. Then दाल का परोठी, रात को जो दाल बच जाती है उसको आप आटे में गुंदवा दीजिए सुबह, उसमें थोड़ा प्याज, अदरक, हरी मिर्ची, थोड़ा सा तेल, जीरा, अजवाइन डाल दीजिए, and wow, the paratha is absolutely very, very delicious, and it is high protein, nourishing. Then there's something called shahi toast, which I make for the children. It's nothing but bread. Of course, this is a little on the fried side. Fry the bread, cut the bread into two pieces, fry the bread, and then put it into milk and sugar, and then put a little cream on top and some nuts according to your affordability. Children just love this. I call it shahi toast. Then there's chicken and mutton stock for people who are non-vegetarians. Just, you don't need to have chicken per se. You need some bones, and you make a bone stock with vegetables, some vegetables, not the leftover vegetables, the hard portion of the carrot, the hard portion of the radish, the hard portion of the cauliflower. Put all of them together with little dalchini, long, tej patta. Put a lot of some bones into it and just pressurize. उसके बाद में उसको निकाल के ठंडा करके उसको पीस के रखो. Any soup you make, whether it is paneer soup or palak soup or any Chinese soup or whatever, tomato soup, if you're a non-vegetarian, you can put one scoop of the stock and put it in. So that is again lots of nourishment going into the child every time. And of course, there is khajur. You can take again upon the affordability. Khajur ले लो, उसको थोड़ा सा मेल्ट कर दो, डीसीड करके उसको मेल्ट कर दो थोड़ा सा फ्राइंग पैन में. उसके बाद में उसमें बहुत सारे नट्स डाल दो, थोड़ा मोटा मोटा क्रश करके. Put some till into it, put some desiccated coconut into it, and in fact, this is a thing, mix together and give it to the child inside the room. The father and the child, whoever is sitting inside, can sit together and give them a big thali, and they can play and make the laddus, and they'll know that they have made the laddus. That is another thing. The Mari biscuits can be crushed, some coconut powder desiccated can be put into them, and some condensed milk can be given to them, and that also the children can make the rolls. They are called the Mari biscuit, condensed milk, lovely, high nutritious rolls. What more? I can just carry on. You'll have to tell me when to stop.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I mean, you have given us all amazing recipes. Now it's, I'm feeling to eat
They are
something
very
right.
simple, and two, three things the child can be involved to make. You make the stuff and give it to him. Bolo, husband or baap or beta milke, laddu banao, bas. Or khud khao. Put them in a jar and eat it together.
I know a playway method of,
Yes,
teaching them something as well as, it makes it interesting that, I have made this, so let me eat.
yes,
So
yes. And of
I
course,
think you've shared some amazing recipes as well, apart from the method that you taught us. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's been amazing.
thank you, thank you,
Uh,
thank you.
the session is amazing, and I'm kind of enjoying it, and we have a lot of questions that are coming from the audience as well, but due to the time constraint, I would like to let all our audience know that we're going to get all the questions answered from our panelists here, and we will be sharing that across in the same chat box very soon. So before we close this session for this evening, doctors, would you like to say something to our audience, or to your fellow doctors who are watching this session? So I start with you, Dr. Omar. What is your message for the evening? Doctor, you're on mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Dr. Omar?
Can you hear me now? Yeah, you can hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
are.
You can hear me, yeah. So I would just like to thank Step One because they have given us this platform to interact with the general public and also understand the problems of the common man. All these years, we were sitting in our consultation chambers dealing with only pediatric population and their diseases. So now, since we have joined this from the past 6 months, we are dealing with adults, we are dealing with youngsters, construction workers, army officers, even doctors, nurses, everyone. So we are getting a real good understanding of how people live, and we are all the time finding out how many rooms they have and what are the bathroom size and things like that. So we are getting a lot of understanding about the general lifestyle of the Indian population as a whole, not just the upper middle class or the high class. So this has been a really educative experience for me. And also the patients are so happy to interact with us. Most of the time they are happy that they get a call from a doctor. They find it very reassuring, and it's a lot big moral support for them. And they thank us so much that your day is made. So that is a real good happiness that we are getting from this Step One. And also many people, even army officers, they say that they are saluting us doctors for taking up this service and helping them get through the crisis, because they get very panicky once they are tested positive, and when they get a call from our doctor, they feel real relief and they feel very good, and they know what to do and how to go about everything. And also you get a broad understanding of the disease itself. When the disease started, we were only hearing about what happened in Italy, what happened in America and England, and we really panicked. But now, since we started working in Step One, we got an understanding of what is the ground situation in India, and particularly in whichever state we are working in Bangalore or in Delhi. So then you realize that things are under control. We can manage this disease. It's not so terrible as it is in the Western countries. So now sometimes we are happy that our hygiene is bad and we are not very clean like the Western countries, and we have a better immunity. So we are thankful for that now. So thank you very much. And I want to thank Stepan, and I would encourage many doctors to join this group. There is a helpline, there is a number, contact number, which you can call up, and then you get a lot of good feeling for doing a voluntary service, because all these years we have been doing consultations and charging fees. So for the first time, we are doing something for the society. And this pandemic, I think, is a once in a lifetime which we can do now. So please join and help the people in the country. You can even join the national helpline, hardly spend half an hour to 1 hour, and you get a real good satisfaction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Uma. You have rightly mentioned that we got to know about disease once we joined Project Step One, and it was everything that we watched on the media, or was 90% not true, and we got to know many more information about the disease. So you rightly mentioned that. Thank you so much, Dr. Parag. What would you like to share with our audience and the fellow doctors watching the session?
Regarding step one or you want to want
Any
me to
take
speak
home
about?
message that you want to give or about step one
I,
again?
I
Please
think regarding step one, Dr. Uma has very nicely uh, told and also appealed for more volunteers. It will be lovely to have more of you, more doctors joining this. It's a very different kind of experience. I am a pediatric surgeon, so for me, it was like this is a purely a subject of a physician, but just out of interest, I had joined, and we have kind of grown together. Step one and the volunteers, both of us have kindly, in a way, we have grown together, understanding the problem in Indian context. Reading books is one thing, and talking to patients and talking to people is another. Outside step one, I would definitely want to say one thing, that many countries today are seeing the second wave. Now, the second wave is it doesn't happen that the virus changes its virulence or something. It's basically a behavioral fatigue that countries, after
Yes.
prolonged lockdown, prolonged constraints, they experience. So, uh, let that not happen to us. This message, I think, as doctors, this is one message we should spread in the social media, uh, whether or not, irrespective of whether or not we are joining step. And this is something which I feel is very important. That one should be more careful to prevent the second wave, and the care that are to be taken are the same that they have been taking till now. Plus, uh, it is possible to live a life with some amount of enjoyment, with some amount of fulfillment, taking due precautions. It's not impossible. You don't have to, lock yourself inside a room if you have to live a life with in COVID. So there can be some quality of life. So you need to gather information and improve your what is called COVID behavior. That is all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Parag. Yes, we all need to keep following the same measures that we have been taking, the same precautions that we have been doing to avoid ourselves, getting into the second wave. So you've rightly mentioned that. Thank you so much. Dr. Amitabh, what is your take-home message for our audience, and what would you like to tell our fellow doctors watching this session?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
Dr.
Uh, Carry home message. Dr. Uma and Dr. Parag have conveyed so much. It just adds, step one, what it has given us is given us a platform. Earlier, we were bound by the patients who came in from the area and jurisdiction they came from. I, for one, had an opportunity to go to different cities because of my husband being in the army. And I've worked in other places there before I actually joined the Ministry of Health. So I've actually moved around and met a lot of people in different diverse circumstances. But majority of the doctors are just sitting in their chambers and working either from home to place and place to work, and not much modalities of diversification and meeting various vistas of people has been possible. But here on this platform, far and wide, from north to south, east and west, all segments of society, all communities, the has been no barrier and no bonding, no binding. Every sector, every class one, class two, class three, class four, be it MLA, be it minister, be it a senior bureaucrat or a technocrat, um, be it a class four, a class three, a rickshaw puller, a driver, a cab driver, anyone and everyone, if they have not heeded properly, they have somehow, somewhere lacked something, somewhere they have succumbed. And if they have succumbed and they have got connected with step one, there we as the step one volunteer doctors have had an opportunity. So therefore, I feel we have, across the cross section of the society, we have heard all of them. We have touched the lives of so many people. So therefore, I owe my allegiance to step one. Step one के जरिए से स्टेप वन से जरिए से हमको हर तरह के लोगों से बात करने का मौका मिला, उनके दुख सुख को देखने का, समझने का, परखने का मौका मिला, और अपने दिल की बात उन तक पहुंचाने का भी एक जरिया स्टेप वन ही हमारे लिए बना. And आज जो दिवाली है, धनतेरस का मौका है, लोग दिए जला रहे हैं. आई एम वेरी हैप्पी देयर इज अ बैन ऑन द पटाखास, देयर इज अ बैन ऑन ऑल शूशाबाजी. मैं कुछ लोग डर कर और कुछ लोग गवर्नमेंट के डर कर आगे नहीं बढ़ रहे हैं. लेकिन दिया जलाओ, दिया जलाओ उन लोगों के लिए जो ये काम कर रहे हैं. अच्छा, दिया जलाओ उन लोगों के लिए जो हॉस्पिटल में बीमार हैं, जिनको कल सवेरा मिले न मिले. ऐसे लोगों के लिए हमें आज दिया जलाना है. ऐसे लोगों के लिए हमें प्रार्थना करनी है कि वो अपने दुख सुख के कष्ट से बाहर निकलें. एंड बाकी मैं क्या कहूँ. आई थिंक आई वाज बीइंग इंटरव्यूड बाय समबडी जस्ट एन आवर अगो, एंड she asked me about my association with step 1. I said पहले तो नहीं मालूम था, पर 6 महीने से मुझे लगता है I'm married to step 1. Right? Because when I get up in the morning, I get up with a fear. Oh my God, 8,000 cases in Delhi. This time I keep telling them, hurry up, whatever. I have to get back to work. Whether I'm working or not is immaterial, but it's in the back of my mind. I have a message for anyone and everyone.
Yes,
They,
it's subconscious.
another person asked me a question today. Is the government doing enough? What all is step 1 doing? So I told them, देखो step 1 जो कर रही है, या step 1 जैसे बाकी सारी जो अनगिनत सोसाइटीज हैं, फॉर्मेशंस हैं, क्लब्स हैं, जो ये काम कर रहे हैं, ऐसा कभी किसी ने एनविसाज नहीं किया था. दो 100 साल पहले जो हुआ था, उस समय हम लोग यहाँ नहीं थे. अगले 50 साल में हम तो यहाँ नहीं होंगे, लेकिन यहाँ की हिस्ट्री जो आज पैदा हुई है इस पैंडेमिक में, वो हिस्ट्री में लिखी जाएगी कि क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, क्या नहीं हुआ. सो देयरफॉर the message I want to leave is the government is doing a lot. Such organizations like Step 1 are doing so much. But are we, are you, and am I? Are we doing enough? Are we doing our part? Prime Minister ji has been talking about the 3 important things of vaccine. Vaccine नहीं आई है, लेकिन वैक्सीन की जगह पे यूनिवर्सल मास्किंग, 2 मीटर की दूरी और मल्टीपल टाइम्स हाथ धोना बार बार. एक्चुअली लोगों ने मास्क पहना हुआ है, ऐसे नहीं पहनते लोग, ऐसे और ऐसे पहनते हैं. ऐसे लोगों से 1000 रुपए ले लेना चाहिए. तो they are neither wearing a mask, nor are they washing their hands, nor are they keeping a 2 meter distance फासला. सो वो कर क्या रहे हैं? They are doing nothing. आप अपना काम करो, फिर देखो कि गवर्नमेंट क्या कर रही है, स्टेप 1 क्या कर रहा है. हम अपना काम नहीं कर रहे हैं दोस्तों, हम अपना काम नहीं कर रहे हैं. बीमारी तब होती है जब दोनों तरफ से कहीं ना कहीं कोई ना कोई कमी रह जाती है. तो इसीलिए प्लीज प्लीज प्लीज, कोरोना अभी गया नहीं, कब जाएगा हमें पता नहीं. आगाह करो अपने आप को, सचेत हो जाओ, सतर्क हो जाओ, ओनरशिप लो, तभी जाके हम लोग इस तूफान से आगे निकल पाएंगे. थैंक यू. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much for that amazing message. Wear your masks, everybody. Masks is really important. And I would also, as you were mentioning, Stephen has become a family to us. And I take this opportunity to thank all our doctor volunteers, corporate volunteers, and citizen volunteers for coming together from across the country to save mankind from this disease. That is why we actually step 1 says that we spread faster. So we spread faster than the disease does. So very well said, Dr. Amitabh. Thank you so much, and I thank all the doctors on the panel for taking time of your busy schedule and doing this wonderful session for us. And then I also request all the doctors across India to join in this effort by giving a missed call to 08047192219, which was also displayed on the top of this panel. So you can all give us a missed call. I'll repeat the number. It is 08047192219. Please give us a missed call and join our largest doctor volunteer force. Thank you so much, doctors, and everyone in the audience who joined us today. And please do join us for our next episode on Friday, the 20th of November. And we will hear interesting stories and experience from our citizen volunteers. Meanwhile, do leave us suggestions and queries in the comments to help us make the Step One Fireside Chat much, much, much better. And stay safe, everyone, and celebrate your Diwali in the most safest way possible. Thank you so much. Happy Diwali, one and all.
Happy Diwali.
Happy
Thank you
Diwali.
for
Happy
having us.
Diwali, everyone. Happy
Thank
Diwali. God bless. Done.